It's Footy Prime, everyone. Welcome to another day's action. Today's all about you, our loyal and long-suffering viewer. See that box below me, the comments box? You've been stuffing it full all week long. So today we're going to read out some of the greatest and probably some of the worst comments from the past week, specifically around Alistair Johnston, our boy here from Canada, who's now a bit of a legend at Parkhead. He joined us a week ago, and to this point, I believe that video is our #1 ranked video on YouTube, approaching 40,000 views, which is like Taylor Swift 15 years ago. Please make sure you like and you subscribe to all our channels here. It does really help. It does, I promise you. And for those of you who want to hear the whole show, check out our podcast on all your podcast platforms. Let's get the first comment, shall we? I'll tell you what, it was yeah, it was last Thursday, right? That AJ joined us, and people really enjoyed that interview. My dog is called Oscar. Aw. If he sticks around, he's a future Celtic captain for sure. I fear a lot of interest if he keeps up this form. He's an absolute gem. We should get Jimmy to read this out in a Scottish accent, shouldn't we, really? But that's an interesting one, right? A few people actually mentioned this about Johnston's future at Celtic, or is he at the perfect club for him? Jimmy, you're a lifelong Celtic supporter, right? You've played a little football in Scotland before, trials, etc. Is he at the perfect club, or do you see him at some point moving on?
I never had a trial in Scotland.
Didn't you? I thought you did.
No, I was supposed to go to Celtic, and then Tommy Burns got fired just before I was about to go over. And then I ended up going to England.
So Tommy Burns, though, was the manager who was trying to bring you over, or was it one of his minions?
Yeah, it was Tommy Burns and Joe Jordan. But it was actually a guy called, what was his name? Tony Taylor was the guy that was sending me over, who was good friends with Joe and Tommy Burns.
How close were you to getting over there?
It was probably about maybe 4 weeks before I was about to fly over. And then I got changed and I ended up going to Bristol.
Did Jimmy take his low energy pills? I'm just wondering.
Well, I mean, he's regaling one of the most devastating moments of his career, probably. He thought he was going to Celtic.
Okay. I did. I thought it was going to Celtic. Yeah.
Who told you it was off?
Well, Tony did when he found out that Tommy Burns got fired.
Shit. And your dad, massive Celtic fan, must have just.
My dad's a big Celtic fan. Yeah.
Joe was City, was he?
What's that?
Joe Jordan was at Bristol City, wasn't he?
Yeah. So it's quite funny how it was working. I was supposed to go to Celtic, and then Tommy got fired. Then my next move was Tony Taylor put this together that I was going to Stoke, and Lou McCurry was there. So like a week and a half, 2 weeks before I was going to Stoke, then Lou McCurry got fired. And then I ended up going to Bristol City, who Russell Osman was the gaffer at the time. And then he ended up getting fired, and then Joe Jordan took over. So I ended up working with Joe.
So Russell actually signed you?
Russell signed me, yeah.
Yeah, legend at Ipswich.
Yeah.
So it all worked out really well. Awesome. It worked out perfectly, because look at where you are now, right?
Yeah.
Had you gone to Celtic, you wouldn't be here
about Celtic.
Yeah. Hey, Dub, so back to the comment there, though. I know quite a few that the Celtic fans are a bit concerned about long-term where AJ stays or goes. What's your thoughts? To me, it's like the perfect club at this point in his career.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it feels like he's fit in there so well, and become kind of an instant. I mean, I don't know if you want to say celebrity, but he's a stud on that crew, and people talking about him becoming like the next captain and things like that. And then rumors that he's going to be signing a new deal that would make him one of Celtic's top earners. So it feels like, he's only starting his second season there, but it feels like he's been there for ages, which is, I think, a good sign for a player. So I think he needs to stay there a little bit longer. I mean, he won the treble in his first season with them. I think he wants to, it's tough to get better than that, but I think he wants to stay there, cement himself even more as a star in the Scottish Premier League. Obviously, his aspirations to go somewhere else, use that as a springboard. And I think probably the fans are fearful of that. You love a player, you respect a player, he's revered at Parkhead. But I think you see him and you want to root for a player like Alistair. And people on the comments calling him AJ, I think that's probably just shorthand. I don't know if his teammates call him AJ. I think he's Ali. Maybe.
They do.
Yeah.
You dismissed that straight away. Yeah, we should have done it.
I'm sure they do. That's where the fans get it from most of the time, is from the players calling them by your nickname.
Dubs?
But with
Sorry.
no, listen, with
Waving dubs.
Alistair Johnston, for me, he just seems like the type of player, it doesn't matter what club he goes to, he'll just settle in fine. He's got that personality, he's got the work rate, and it's great to see what Celtic's doing, and they're acknowledging the type of player that he is, how valuable he is by extending his contract and making him one of the highest paid players. Part of the reason why you end up doing that too at a club is when a player's in fine form and he's playing very, very well internationally, he's doing very, very well. When you make him the highest paid player, his evaluation just continues to go up, which means when they do sell him, they're going to be selling him for a hell of a lot of money.
And that's really what it comes down to. I mean, it's a club as much as anybody. If they can dip into the market and get a lot for Alistair, they will.
Well, like, we Jinky. I bet there's a few Jinkies actually commenting, because Jinky Jenkins was a legendary Celtic player. Jinky Johnston, right, as well.
Mm-hmm.
I still remember watching AJ, his baptism on fire, and of course the Old Firm derby. And I thought, look at this guy. He has no fear. AJ is only to get better. And that's the thing, right, Craig? It's that no fear that I think the Celtic fans appreciate. And to make your debut for the first team in the Old Firm derby and not wilt under that pressure, that I think speaks everything about it. Yeah,
it's a good point. Seen some pretty impressive players over the years, and when they get in front of people or under high pressure situations, they can't handle it. And when we were talking to him on the podcast about how he just hears this abuse coming at him as just noise. It's exciting. There's 55, 60,000 people watching him every week, and he just sees that as noise and seems to grasp it in a very positive way. He's brilliant.
We absolutely adore AJ. He's a credit to our team, his family, and Canada. I wonder how many of these actually were from Celtic fans in Canada, because the majority of the listens and views came from Scotland. Our analytics tell us there. So it's interesting. How can you not like and respect this guy, between how hard and well he plays on the pitch to his personality and drive attitude? He is flat out a winner, and he must be an interviewer's dream. Ask one question and just let him tell stories and chat.
Not wrong.
Yeah. And it is the best. It doesn't remind me of Brian Budd, but Brian Budd was a famous Canadian footballer way back when. He was the first analyst I worked with on TV. And Budgie was, Craig knows Budgie, Jimmy knows Budgie. You'd say, hey, Budgie, and then you wouldn't get a word in for another hour or so. But it was all just the best stories ever. And to interview him, my first get green broadcaster, and sitting down beside Budgie on a desk was so easy. Hey, Budgie, Sir Alex Ferguson, go. And then show's over,
And if anybody wants to learn more about Brian Budd, you just have to look up 70s, put this in your Google, 70s superstars. He was the first superstar champion when they put all the superstars together, and he came from Canada. So it was quite interesting.
He knew everyone.
Anyone over 50, once again, will know Brian Budd.
I was actually at his funeral as a pallbearer. And so I'm lifting up the coffin and look over to my right, and guess who's there? Ali McCoist. Sorry, Celtic fans, but there's Ali McCoist is there. I think Norman Whiteside was there as well. He knew
JC, did you want that logo up or that thing up? Well,
it's all right. It's all right.
Okay.
I thought he was going to get emotional, so I thought I'd cover up his face.
It was an emotional funeral, I'll tell you that much. It was massive, packed house, and so Ali, some of the biggest names in football in the 80s and 90s, Budgie knew so well, and it was he was brilliant.
Was he a smoker too? Was he a smoker?
Budgie, I don't know. He was just super fit, right? I don't think so. Back to AJ. One of Celtic's beloved. His relationship with Celtic fans is already massive. It's as strong as it could be. Thank you, Canada, for giving us one of your brilliant sons.
That's nice.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Celtic and Scotland. If he sticks around, he's a future Celtic captain for sure. Actually, haven't we already read this one out? That's why I'm reading it twice. Yeah, I think maybe in the first one.
Just wanted to reiterate that, Charms.
Highlight it.
It was a good one, dude. A little bit lower down. That's all right. It's the first time doing this. It's okay. For long-time listeners of Footy Prime, we hate expletives and curse words. So some people stumble upon us perhaps for the first time, and they hear one of our weaker moments, say, Dubs?
Yeah, this was from our pod following the US game, where that one that Canada won 2-1, but probably should have won by a little bit more. And this is from Blueberry Fuzz. Didn't care for the disrespectful language from Jimmy Brennan. I'm sure there's a way to professionally share analyses in a podcast. I listened to some of the American podcasts as well as quote unquote, call it what you want. And they've never been this kind of dark, disrespectful. Be edgy, fine. It's competitive, but stay classy.
Stay classy,
Well,
San Diego.
Oh, that's asking for a lot from this crew.
It is.
You
Yeah,
use
and listen,
Jimmy
we are who
Brennan?
we are. We talk. I suppose we talk away the way you'd hear a locker room talk, in many regards, and sometimes we will use words inappropriate to certain ears, delicate little ears, who get upset by such things. If that's the case, this is probably not a show for you, because we're not going to fucking stop. However, Jimmy, would you like to apologize?
No, not one bit. Not at all. This is our podcast. We act as if though we're in a dressing room or we're in the pub sitting around having a beer, having a chat, talking shop. It's what it is. If you want to hear us talk nice, watch when we're on TSN Sports and that One Soccer, all that kind of stuff. Watch us there. Had enough.
That's well said.
I think specifically, though, not to defend this commenter, but I think their issue where they were taking umbrage with the fact that it was profanity associated with Jimmy saying he didn't give a fuck about what Americans thought in our analysis of that match, saying that it was a really dominant performance by Canada. It should have been a bigger score. It wasn't. It was 2-1. The US are in a lot of trouble right now. They've just hired Pochettino to try to right the ship. And I think their issue with Jimmy's language was associated with the fact that we didn't give a fuck about what Americans thought.
But why?
How do you know that? That's really reading into that comment a lot.
That's right.
Dubs, was it you? Was
Put
it you?
context around it.
I was hosting that show. It wasn't me.
I know, but you don't know what the context of this person
That's
is.
what- I wasn't involved in that day, was I?
No?
No.
Oh, yeah. Seriously, guys, show some fucking class.
Jeez, you're classless. Classless.
I step away for one show, and this is what happens. You let us down. Jesus, it's like when me and Wonga do a show by ourselves, eh, Wonga? all goes to crap.
Hey, we keep saying how our John Herdman, what's going to happen to John Herdman video and podcast keeps doing really well.
It does,
and that was just you and I, Charms, just saying. If some of the members of Footy Prime have to leave our wonderful team at some point, Charms and I will keep forging through.
We will. We got nothing
navigate
else
the new media world landscape. Yep.
Listen, but great comments, thank you. And all joking aside, we love them. And as you know, we read them out. And every Thursday, we will have a show like this, and we'll read some of your comments out. And like we said, please like and subscribe, but write what you want. You can criticize. We actually quite enjoy it.